My husband John held a wedding for his first love Sarah. He thought I would cause a scene like before. But this time, I just calmly signed the divorce papers and let go of the past. People in the social circle were betting on when I would regret and beg for forgiveness. But half a year passed. And I never showed up. John acted completely indifferent. As an orphan with no one to rely on. I had no choice but to depend on him. He was certain I would return home. When my wedding photos with someone else spread throughout the circle. The man who was always dignified and reserved suddenly went crazy. At the wedding reception. John walked towards me with one arm around Sarah's waist, both naturally handsome. They looked like a perfect match, pleasing to the eye. If I weren't his wife, I might have praised how well suited they were. John usually keeps his emotions hidden, but this time, he couldn't contain his joy. When our eyes met by accident, his face turned cold. "What are you doing here?" Seeing I didn't respond, Sarah stepped in to mediate. "Emily, rest assured. John and I have nothing going on. It's all just an act. If there were something, we wouldn't have gotten married. Right?" She smiled brightly, completely unaware of the inappropriateness in her words. John gazed at her adoringly with no intention of refuting, watching them so affectionate with each other. My heart was pierced once again. He is my husband. Don't you have any shame? Sarah was John's first love. But they separated due to a misunderstanding. Even after breaking up, she still lacked boundaries. Whenever something happened, she would immediately turn to John for help. And he would solve everything for her without hesitation. This time, Sarah had a spat with her boyfriend and threatened to upset him. So John held this wedding for her. I used to think that if I persevered, I would eventually win his love. But seeing how easily she got the wedding I longed for with just a word, I suddenly felt I couldn't hold on any longer. Sarah tugged at her collar helplessly, looking as if she had suffered a great injustice. John gave me a cold glance and carefully shielded her behind him. I wanted to hold this wedding. If you can't accept it, then divorce. At the end of the wedding, only I left in disgrace. Taking a taxi back to the Wilson family residence, shards of glass cut my feet. But I felt no pain as I walked back to my room in a daze, looking at the place I grew up. It felt strangely unfamiliar for the first time. I was supported by the Wilson family since childhood. Through daily interactions, I fell hopelessly in love with John. But he never responded to me. After graduating from university and returning, he suddenly confessed his feelings to me. That moment, I was so excited that tears streamed down. Years of affection finally got a response, and bittersweet feelings overwhelmed me. I thought he loved me too later. I found out that John was only with me to get back at Sarah, to retaliate because she broke up with him. Tears soaked my pillow as I curled up into a ball, trying to find some warmth. But it was in vain. That night, an itch on my ankle startled me awake. And when I opened my eyes, I saw someone who shouldn't be there. "Your foot is injured. Why didn't you say anything?" John gently held my calf and applied a band-aid to my ankle, under the warm light. He looked so tender. That rare warmth reminded me of the first time we met. I had lost my only family and was in an unfamiliar place. Unable to stop crying, John gave me a casual glance and went back to his room, thinking he wouldn't come out. I was surprised to see a lollipop appear before me. "Stop crying. It's ugly." My eyes inexplicably stung as John reached out to gently wipe the tears from the corner of my eyes. "Why do you always cry so much?" I sniffled, trying hard not to embarrass myself. "What are you back for?" John seemed to recall something belatedly, his eyes shifting abruptly with intense pressure. "Was the online news posted by you?" Someone had uploaded today's video online, and sharp-eyed netizens noticed that Sarah wasn't John's wife. The incident escalated rapidly, and Sarah was viciously criticized. I suddenly burst into laughter, weighed down by self-mockery, fury, and sorrow, a mix of emotions that left me breathless. Despite the overwhelming sadness, not a single tear fell. John appeared oblivious to my expression, his tone growing colder. delete the video. And I won't pursue it. All the earlier gentleness had merely been a ploy to trick me into confessing, realizing the truth. I pushed him away angrily. I told you. I didn't do it. Don't you understand? As I struggled, I nearly stumbled. John reached out to steady me. But I shoved his hand away violently. My expression was so anguished that he froze momentarily. Quickly regaining composure. It doesn't matter. Just post a video clarifying for Sarah. And that's enough. The rumors online were too harsh. He didn't want his sweetheart accused of being the other woman. Simply say you're not Mrs. Wilson. He said he'd handle the rest. Those words. I finally saw how pitiful and laughable my years of perseverance had been. I agreed to his demand. With one condition. Divorce. This 3-person game was no longer something I could endure. John was taken aback to hear the word divorce from my lips, his brow furrowing as if displeased for years. He was always the one to mention divorce whenever I lost my temper. While I never brought it up once, this time. Perhaps he truly crossed a line. Stop acting youpie. No, I don't coax people. He hadn't expected my attitude to be so unexpectedly firm. If he refused, I'd never post the video. Choosing between me and Sarah. I knew he'd make his decision. John lowered his head, his hair shadowing his face. Hiding his emotions, the next second, he lifted his gaze toward me. His almond-shaped eyes deep and serene. Fine. I agreed. As expected. Sarah was always his first choice. During the divorce registration, John still thought I was throwing a tantrum, hesitating several times, the whole way. Our eyes never met before. I was the one tirelessly chasing after him. Now, I had no strength left to pursue. After leaving the Civil Affairs Bureau, he drove with a grim face to a private room. The room was packed. Childhood friends who saw me instantly shielded Sarah, fearing I might harm her. Unfazed, I calmly filmed the video. Sorry, Emily. I just wanted to make my boyfriend jealous. I didn't mean to cause your divorce. Sarah stopped me, her tone dripping with apology. Yet her eyes glinted unmistakably with triumph. But John is always generous with his exes. Even divorced, you'll walk away with plenty. Facing her provocation, I laughed instead of raged. I am leaving with nothing. Freeing him to save for your dowry. Are you happy now? With the Wilson family's influence. Forcing a lone woman like me to leave empty-handed was easy. So John was certain that even after the divorce, I'd soon crawl back to him shamefully. He idly swirled his cup, his gaze drifting vaguely in our direction. I no longer wanted to be a stumbling block between them. I turned to leave. Sarah's friend called out, "That outfit you're wearing is a limited edition from D already discontinued. It must be worth a fortune. If you're really that tough, don't take anything with you." The private room fell so silent you could hear a pin drop. No one spoke up to intervene. John's expression was icy, completely detached, as if waiting for me to beg. If I just swallowed my pride, this ordeal would end. And I would remain Mrs. Wilson. The temperature hovered near freezing. Going without a coat would risk frostbite. Without hesitation, I took off my coat and threw it at her. Only when I was down to a thin inner layer did John finally speak. Get out. When I went to print documents later, everything still felt unreal. After leaving that room, I soon collapsed on the street. Unexpectedly, Michael found me and brought me back, later hiring me as his assistant. He was John's older brother, born to Wilson family's first wife. A pity shed trusted the wrong man. Ultimately leaving in disgrace. I suspected Michael took me in mainly to use against John, but I couldn't afford to care about his motives. As long as he offered me shelter and a job to scrape by, I had no reason to refuse. For me, survival was the only goal. Back at my desk organizing files, I opened my phone and saw the first notification. John had called a press conference. Reporters, though eager for scoops, didn't dare act recklessly in his presence. Probing cautiously instead. Mr. Wilson, what is your relationship with Ms. Sarah? Sarah stood beside him, cheeks flushed. Shyly dodging the cameras. John, momentarily distracted. Instinctively shielded her. She's someone very important to me. A reporter pressed further. Then what about the woman in the video? John's expression darkened. She's the Wilson family's adopted daughter. Please don't misunderstand. His gaze swept the room. As if anticipating something but nothing happened. No chaos. No disturbance. It was as if Emily had vanished completely. Never to return. The realization made his heart skip a beat. But he quickly dismissed it. A helpless orphan with no life experience. How could she survive without him? Certain I'd come crawling back. His agitation eased, even expecting this. The ache in my chest still bloomed. Letting go of love carved into my bones felt excruciatingly painful. Michael appeared behind me without warning. Bring the meal in, he ordered. Then strode off on his long legs. I shoved the past aside, grabbed the lunchbox, and hurried after him. The heavy door clicked shut. He sat in his chair, legs crossed, eyes fixed on me. Eat. Relief washed over me at his words. I obediently took my portion and settled aside. Cut back on those videos meant to fool idiots, he remarked suddenly. I almost asked how he knew. Then remembered. As John's brother. Keeping tabs made sense. But another question burned. I ate carefully, stealing glances until Michael finally set down his chopsticks. Out with it. After a moment's thought, I straightened up, face solemn. I was John's ex-wife. But he never cared for me, meaning I held zero value as a pawn. If he wants to use me to threaten John, it won't work. After laying things out plainly, I nervously awaited his response. The air grew still for a moment, though Michael said nothing. His expression perfectly conveyed what it meant to be both furious and amused. Do you really think I'd waste my time teaching you for his sake? What kind of fool do you take me for? His words left me speechless. He casually handed me a file. Stay busy if you're free. That'll keep your mind from wandering. Over these past few months, Michael had taught me countless things: how to handle documents, how to communicate effectively with superiors and subordinates, out of habit. I followed his instructions, but seeing the long list of tasks made my head spin instantly. After finishing the paperwork, Michael personally delivered an evening gown. Its sapphire blue hue featured a fishtail skirt hemmed with multiple rows of paved diamonds, appearing understated yet luxurious, having not worn such finery for years. I moved awkwardly when emerging. What's wrong? Uncomfortable. Michael paused to watch me. I lowered my head. Does it look strange? Maybe I shouldn't wear this. When I first married John, he still took me to various events. Gradually, he stopped bringing me along. Rumors circulated that John felt embarrassed to stand beside his wife. That shame haunted me for years. I never dared ask to accompany him again. What are you overthinking? Michael's sharp tone cut through my memories. His expression stern. Never feel unworthy. Everyone deserves the finest things. His words nearly made me see why no one had spoken to me like that in ages. Words possess a unique power to bridge time and space, offering redemption to the wounded. Stand beside me. You must carry yourself with confidence, just as tears threatened to fall. Michael adjusted his lapel pin with exaggerated seriousness, declaring loftily, because my brilliance is blinding, dazzled by his sheer confidence. I found no rebuttal. Throughout the evening, he proudly introduced me to industry leaders across fields. Many elegant women complimented my appearance. By the end of the gala, my flushed cheeks hadn't faded, though bashful. I remained fully professional, having studied several minor languages. I fluently translated Michael's conversations. Exhaustion clouded my mind afterward. Yet the busyness felt fulfilling, a joy born from recognized value. After days of work, I finally unwound in a hot spring pool on the last evening, sinking into blissful warmth. I released a long sigh, opening my eyes. I encountered a powerfully sculpted physique. Six-pack abs disappeared beneath rippling water. A sun-kissed frame exuded raw, healthy strength. How long do you plan to stare? Michael's voice carried an uncharacteristic awkwardness, caught red-handed. I instantly averted my gaze, cringing with embarrassment. After all this time together, this was my first clear view of his body separated by the pool, yet still heart fluttering. It took moments to regain composure. Why are you helping me? The question escaped me as he stretched. Eyes closed. You truly don't remember. Michael sounded almost wronged. When you outdebated me round after round in that tournament. Forgotten so quickly. Without his reminder, I'd nearly forgotten my own luminous past, back then. As a member of the university debate team representing our school, I'd won numerous awards. Recordings of those matches still circulated on campus. Michael was once my defeated opponent, back in school. You were so articulate, but after graduation, you became tongue-tied. His intense gaze looked at me. His voice filled with inspiring power. You should move forward. Don't get trapped. When I got up from the hot spring, my legs were weak, and my mind was full of those words, back in the room, amid the prolonged silence. I pulled out the old SIM card. From then on, I completely severed ties with the past. Michael was right. It was time to let go. 3 months passed. And John never called me. To be honest, I knew I should have changed it earlier, but years of obsession still left some resentment. Now, I'd woken up completely. After changing my phone, I threw myself back into life. Traveling with Michael on business trips all over. I got to know and experience many new things. It felt like I was starting over from scratch. Becoming full of vitality again. The company organized a charity event. And I went to the orphanage with Michael. The children there played around me. And their joyful energy was contagious. Want some candy? Michael appeared with candy. And the kids swarmed around him. He acted all proud. Call me big brother. Or no treat. He was still sulking from being called uncle earlier. The sharp-eyed kids called him. And he handed out the candy right away. One child coughed. And he carefully advised them to wait a few days before eating, watching him soothe the children. A thought popped into my head. He'd make a good father someday. Lost in thought. He was already before me, placing a lollipop in my hand. I am not a kid, I said blankly. My expression dazed. Michael ruffled my hair, laughing heartily. Girls need coaxing no matter their age. For a moment, I recalled John saying he didn't know how to coax people. And I almost laughed. The lollipop's sweetness filled my mouth, spreading warmth to my heart. Michael. Thank you. The man in front stiffened, looking a bit silly. But I smiled. Thank you for helping me move on. It's just a pity I had nothing good to repay you with. Yes. You do. Michael suddenly spoke, startling me. His sweat-dampened hand grasped mine, his eyes brimming with sincerity. I listened in confusion to his request. Michael said his mother had suffered emotional trauma, and her mental state fluctuated. Her health poor. The doctor diagnosed that she didn't have much time left. She wants to see me happy while she's still alive. Michael said with pain. I stopped him from continuing, and agreed. I thought would be exposed easily. But everything went surprisingly smoothly. When Aunt Shin saw me, her eyes brightened. She was about to speak when Michael cut her off. Mom, don't scare her. Aunt Shin suppressed a smile and quickly invited me to sit. Don't be scared. I want bite. Seeing her, I understood how Michael's personality was shaped. They were so alike. The unease in my heart eased a lot. I thought she'd mind my past with John. But she never mentioned it. Michael personally tidied up the guest room. His movements were so efficient that he didn't seem like a pampered noble son. He wore a short T-shirt on his upper body, revealing strong and powerful arms. Sweat dripped down his smooth contours. And when he looked back with a smile, he resembled the boy next door. At noon, Michael personally cooked for us. The dishes steamed hot, and the aroma made one's mouth water. He took the initiative to serve me food that I hesitated to refuse. But then I heard him softly remind, "Fiancé, eat," glancing quickly at Aunt Shin. My cheeks flushed red, and I finally ate the food under her teasing gaze. Michael kept serving me food, treating me like a child. But fortunately, It was all food I liked, after we became boyfriend and girlfriend. Michael introduced me to all his friends, hearing that I wanted to go to the amusement park. He said nothing but took me there the next day, when Michael dragged me to take wedding photos. I suddenly felt like laughing that I end my previous marriage. We had gotten the certificate and told relatives and friends. But in the end, we didn't even have a single wedding photo or a simple wedding ceremony. This time it was just acting. Yet someone could be so thorough, miss. You will surely be happy, the makeup artist suddenly said, smiling at Michael. She said it was the first time she had seen a groom stare at his bride the whole time, without a hint of impatience, but full of love. After changing into the wedding dress and walking out of the fitting room, I instinctively looked for Michael, but unexpectedly ran into another man. John was sitting on a bench, looking somewhat impatient. Does it look good? Sarah asked eagerly, awaiting a reply, but only received a perfunctory response. She bit her lip, suppressing displeasure. John, do you think Emily will be angry when she hears about our marriage? John looked at Sarah, his expression slightly distant, that he thought she would definitely be angry. Just seeing him pretend to be engaged to someone else had caused such a big fuss. If she heard he was getting married, she couldn't help but come out and cause a scene. Thinking of this, a smile unconsciously curled at the corner of his mouth. Sarah called several times before he snapped back to attention. John, if you're worried about Emily, you can call her. No need. John regained his composure. If she has the nerve, she can stay away forever. He had been too indulgent with women, letting her have the audacity to run away from home for so long. If he went to find her, who knew what she would do next? They walked away, and I came out from the corner, bumping into Michael's embrace. Still can't let go. I shook my head. It's just that so many years of feelings were wasted on a dog. Michael breathed a sigh of relief and took me to the mirror. Tidying my hair, look ahead. Never look back, he said, when the wedding photos spread out. I knew nothing, but John's circle was in an uproar. Someone recognized me and brought my photo to John. His eyes instantly reddened. The room fell silent, the atmosphere so tense that no one dared speak. John gripped the photo as if wanting to tear it apart. A friend tried to smooth things over. It's better that she's married. Then no one will bother you. John's gaze sharpened, startling the speaker, amid exclamations from the crowd. He smashed the private booth to pieces. Flying shards injured several people. The man who spoke was covered in small cuts. Unable to complain, she's mine. John flew into a rage. Sarah wanted to persuade him, but couldn't even get in to see him. He finally remembered to call me. But when the phone rang, he found that the number had been disconnected. His anger suddenly died down. Picking up the photo again, panic appeared on John's face for the first time. I end the photo. I was smiling brightly, completely different from when I was with him. It's not like this. He clenched his fist, whispering to comfort himself. She would never leave me. The next time I saw John was on a bright afternoon. He rushed into the company like a madman. The receptionist tried to stop him, but she was too scared by his expression to approach. John saw my figure, came over, and grabbed my wrist with a force that was painful. How dare you take wedding photos with someone else? Hearing the accusation, I was dazed for a moment, then couldn't help but remind him. We are already divorced. You and I have no relationship for a long time now. Whom I take photos with or marry has nothing to do with you. John trembled all over. His furious expression faded, looking hurt and at a loss, but mostly angry. Who told you we have no relationship? Stubbornly refusing to let go, he coldly spat out a few words. You really are an ungrateful dog. Someone throws you a scrap, and you just run off. My face instantly turned pale. So in his heart, I was just a dog raised by the Wilson family. Not even worthy of having my own. Will. If you want to cut ties with me, fine. First, repay all the money you owe the Wilson family over the years. John leaned close to me, his expression sinister. If you can't do that, then get back here. As long as you come back, I won't hold the past against you. You can still be Mrs. Wilson. Looking at the hysterical madman in front of me, a wave of nausea hit me hard. Michael was right. This kind of person doesn't deserve my love. Not worth my time wasting. When John tried to drag me away forcefully, a force pulled me out of his embrace. How much does my wife owe you? I'll pay it back. Michael. Seeing the newcomer, John completely lost his temper. Let her go. She is my wife. Michael ignored him completely, carefully checking my wrist to make sure it wasn't hurt. Then gave him a dismissive look, if I recall correctly. You admitted yourself that Emily has nothing to do with you. Before. Your eyesight was bad, now. Even your brain isn't working. He pulled me into his arms to declare ownership. This is my wife. John, provoked into anger. Threw a punch. Michael instantly pushed me behind him, made sure I was safe, then swung his fist into action. The CEOs of 2 listed companies fought fiercely in public. And in the end, both were sent to the hospital. Michael was groaning in bed, and I couldn't help but glare at him. Now you know it hurts. When I told him to stop, he was as stubborn as a mule and wouldn't listen no matter what. Michael complained that he came to my doorstep to steal my wife. Who could tolerate that? His gaze was too intense. I couldn't quite meet his eyes. Doubt arose in my heart. Was he acting too seriously? Michael wanted to say more, but I embarrassingly fled. Not daring to look at his expression, I went out to buy some food. And as I was heading back to the ward, a pair of hands blocked my path. John stood before me, covered in injuries. His eyes inexplicably tinged with grievance, he remained silent for a while, afraid that Michael might be hungry. I started to leave, but John stopped me, his voice low and hoarse. I am injured. So what? I looked at him bewildered, then suddenly understood something from his stubborn expression. I in the past. Whenever he was sick or injured, I would be the first to appear and accompany him. Over so many years, we had grown accustomed to this pattern of interaction. So whenever he got hurt, the first person he thought of was me. If you're injured, go to a doctor. If that doesn't work, you could also go to Sarah. Upon hearing me mention Sarah, John's eyes lit up. He knew she must care. How could he say he doesn't love her and then not love her? She has done so much. Definitely to get his attention. Although he did go a bit too far this time. She was also at fault. How could she just take wedding photos with someone else out of anger? John looked at me as if I were a misbehaving child. There's nothing between her and me. I'll explain it to you later when we get back. First, come home with me. He was certain I would follow him, his expression growing much calmer and composed. I couldn't help but laugh. You've already taken wedding photos together, and you say there's nothing. John's face instantly changed. He hadn't expected me to know about this. I leaned close to his ear, my expression mocking. Or should we wait until she has a baby before it counts as something? He seemed unable to bear my taunt, his fist suddenly slamming into the wall. I shrank back involuntarily, regretting provoking this unstable lunatic. That's idiot got a backer now, daring to talk to me like this. John gritted his teeth. Did you think Michael is any good? He only got close to you to use you to piss me off. He grabbed my chin forcefully, forcing me to look up. I raised you. Without me, who else would want you? I advise you to. I bit down hard on the back of his hand, and as he winced in pain, I slapped him sharply across the face. No matter how bad Michael is, he's 10,000 times better than you. You know nothing. So who are you to judge us? I was trembling all over with emotion when a large pair of hands pulled me into an embrace. Michael blinked. Emily praised me. I'm so happy. His eyes were as dark as grapes, gleaming with excitement, seeing me shy. He turned away to stifle a laugh. But when his gaze swept over John's gloomy face, his eyes turned icy cold. Who told you I was just using her? I've loved her for 4 whole years, and I have to thank you for asking for trouble. Or I'd never have gotten a wife in this lifetime. After Michael said those words, I was completely stunned, and John was so furious he tried to attack. But Michael's men pinned him to the ground. Unable to move, following Michael home, I was shocked once again. A drawer full of photo albums. With only one subject inside, there were pictures of me at debate competitions, at club activities, even at social mixers. As you can see, I've had a crush on you since college, Michael said earnestly, though the tips of his ears turned faintly red. I stared at him in shock and bewilderment. Why have I never seen you before? Hearing that, he lowered his head. He knew who I was and that I had always loved John. You had someone you liked. I didn't want to disturb you, Michael said, growing nervous when I stayed silent. I had an agenda in getting close to you. I wanted you to fall for me too. You can be angry, hit me, yell at me, whatever, but you can't break up with me. As he spoke, he tentatively hugged me and wouldn't let go. This was the sweetheart he had worked so hard to win over. Even if beaten to a pulp, he couldn't release her. Somehow, I accepted his confession. After clearing things up, Michael became even clingier. If he didn't see me for a moment, he'd get anxious. I know you're afraid to fall in love easily again, he said, resting his head on my shoulder. Sticky and affectionate. Let me love you. Okay. I heard myself reply. It was half a year later when I heard news about John again. I was out buying a birthday gift for Michael and ran into an old friend from him. I learned John and Sarah had broken up. Their friends had taken turns trying to persuade John. But he not only refused to listen but also cursed everyone out. After saying all this, he cautiously observed my expression, trying to convince me. Emily, John is really sorry this time. You two should make up. After all, you grew up together and know each other inside out. I sneered, cutting him off. Growing up together doesn't necessarily mean you understand each other. I looked at John mockingly, and he seemed to recall something, his face instantly flushing red, earlier in the private room, when I was being humiliated. No one remembered that we had grown up together since childhood, but now they finally recall it, ignoring his grim expression. I walked away quickly, only to be surprised at how soon I encountered Sarah. Sarah stared intently, as if wishing she could bore a hole through me. Are you satisfied seeing me like this now? After she broke up with John, she wanted to get back together, but to her surprise, that utterly mediocre man also broke up with her, seeing her hysterical state. I suddenly remembered what she had once said to me. You're pitiful, going to great lengths and still unable to earn a man's love. Unlike me, just stand there. And countless people are obsessed with me, facing her provocation. I replied at the time that those who want to have it both ways end up with nothing at all. I distanced myself from her. Your current outcome has absolutely nothing to do with me. And don't bother me anymore. Seeing me about to leave, she stepped forward and grabbed my wrist, cursing me with vile words. Before I could retort, a strong force yanked her away and flung her harshly to the ground. John, Sarah exclaimed in surprise. John just glanced at her indifferently. I told you not to disturb her. You have a death wish. Sarah trembled in fear and quickly shook her head. Get lost. Watching this group of people gave me a headache. A few raindrops fell from the sky, with signs of heavier rain coming. And John immediately took me to seek shelter without another word. He took off his coat and draped it over me, carefully shielding me, instantly reminding me of childhood. Back then, when I first arrived at the Wilson family, the fear of a strange place and loneliness made me hide and cry secretly. As I cried, I lost track of time, forgot the way home, and sprained my ankle. Trapped in the small woods at the back of the hill, John was the first to find me. He said nothing, silently crouched down, and carried me on his back. His not yet broad shoulders held me steadily. He spoke the first words he ever said to me here. I'll take you home. Are you okay? The two phrases overlapped across time and space as John's concerned face appeared before me, seeing a faint sheen of sweat on my cheek. He tried to wipe it off, But I dodged his touch. He awkwardly withdrew his hand and pointed casually to a store. Let's go inside to dodge the rain. I thought it was time to clarify some things. So I didn't refuse. The coffee shop was quiet. And the server politely asked what would like 0.2 iced Americanos. No sugar, he said, then looked at me with a smile. I remember you like it. I froze for a moment and, under the surprised gaze of the server, changed one of the orders to a caramel macchiato. I never liked iced Americano. I drank it often before only because John did. Just trying to share a common interest with him. Later, I realized it really didn't suit me. You never said that before, John murmured, lost in thought, then lowered his head and added after a pause. I'll remember it from now when everything you love. I'll remember. Come home with me. Okay. Seeing me silent, John's tone grew more pleading. We promised would never abandon each other. Since childhood, he had never been valued by his father. And his mother was so focused on her husband that she had no time for him. So I was brought back as his playmate. At first, he resented me and even avoided looking at me. But after that day, he took me home. Our relationship started to improve. He opened up to me for the first time, confiding that no one cared about him. Little me felt so sorry for this beautiful older brother that I promised to always be with him. John held my hand, humbly begging, I've already broken up with Sarah. And from now on, I'll only love you. Can we start over? After he calmed down, I withdrew my hand, stood up, and looked down at him. John, I've said I'll always be with you, as long as you don't drive me away. But he fell in love with someone else and left me alone. The promise doesn't count anymore since you decided to hold the wedding with her. His face turned deathly pale instantly. He wanted to plead for me to stay, but didn't know how. I left, telling him never to bother me again, or his wife at home would get jealous. Honey, what would you like to eat today? Michael walked into the kitchen in an apron and leaned out to ask for my opinion. I named a few dishes, and he immediately agreed and started to cook skillfully. I love to eat, and he likes to take me to try all kinds of food. 1 year, I became obsessed with farmhouse cuisine in the Guangdong and Guangxi regions. He immediately took me on a plane. After finally arriving in Guangzhou, he hired a car and drove up the mountain for half a day just to let me taste the most authentic free-range chicken. As long as I said I liked something, no matter how busy he was, he would spare time to accompany me. We traveled around. After dating officially for a year, he proposed to me. This time, I had the warmest and most romantic wedding. The wedding, he sobbed uncontrollably, making the atmosphere rather funny. Aunt Shen held my hand and placed it in his. You two should live in harmony. If you, this brat, dare to let Emily down, I'll fix you myself. Michael carefully took my hand and walked onto the wedding stage. In front of all relatives and friends. He solemnly took the vows. In the middle of the wedding, when I went to change my dress, I met an old friend. It wasn't strange to meet someone from the same circle. Emily. Wait a minute. He stopped me, looking a bit embarrassed, and handed me a box. A wedding gift. Feeling the weight in my palm, I thoughtfully opened the box. Inside was an emerald bracelet. He scratched his head awkwardly. I smiled and returned the gift to him. It's too expensive. You should take it back. Feeling the burning gaze on my back, I guessed who it was but didn't turn around. Just as Michael said, one should look forward and not stop moving forward because of unworthy people and things. Darling, you must remember to video call me every day when you go to the UK for further studies. Michael put the dishes on the table, buried his head in my neck, and said pitifully. I ruffled his hair and poked him with my finger. Got it. Getting admitted to that university and fulfilling my childhood dream again made me feel great. I couldn't rely on Michael all my life. I couldn't stand still. If the gap between us was too big, we wouldn't be able to reach the end together. Wait for me to come back. John's bonus story. Since I was born, my father has extremely disliked me. When I was a child, I didn't understand. So I went to ask my mother, but she slapped me to the ground and looked at me with hatred in her eyes. You useless thing. An unlovable loser. After that, I never asked again. After I met Emily, she promised to always be with me. I secretly laughed at her stupidity. I had everything. And I didn't need her sympathy. I thought I didn't care about her, until she went to college and left home, watching her become more radiant, outgoing, and full of vitality. I began to be afraid that I would never be able to hold on to her again, until someone spread rumors about me. And she started calling me frequently. Her attention was back on me. I knew how to control her then. This trick worked well, later. I kept using Sarah to test her. I never expected that one day I would mess up. For 6 whole months. Emily hadn't given any news. The moment I saw her wedding photo, I wanted to kill the man in the picture, Michael. It was actually him. Then I remembered to call Emily. And the instant I heard that the number was disconnected, I started to panic. Everything had long since slipped out of my control. Yet I foolishly thought I could still fix it. After getting into a fight with Michael, I showed up in front of Emily covered in wounds, thinking she would feel sorry for me. But this time, she just coldly and distantly pulled away from me. There was no longer any trace of the tenderness or love she used to have when she looked at me. Only then did I finally realize that the girl who had eyes only for me was gone for good. She had found her knight. So why would she look back at the villain who had hurt her? On the day they got married, I saw her from afar in the crowd, and suddenly remembered that years ago she had told me she wanted to have a wedding. Back then, I was too stupid and heartlessly refused her, seeing the sadness in her eyes. I thought I'd make it up to her later with the grandest wedding ever. After leaving the wedding venue, I threw the bracelet into the trash can. This bracelet was a family heirloom. Meant only to be given to one's wife, she had once asked for it. And I laughed at her for being delusional. Now, its owner doesn't want it anymore.